And friends, if you don't think that's some heavy reading at night, we must convert at least 50% of the land area of North America to wilderness, off limits to human beings. Human population is to be resettled into the remaining 25% of the land, into communities that are described as sustainable communities.
Well, of course, that's the master plan. That's why we're shipping our jobs overseas. That's why we're shipping our factories overseas. That's why they're running up the price of your oil and gas and electricity. It's to impoverish the American people, to raise your living standards to that of the Bolivian peasant. We want equality for everybody but the ruling elite.
In which they would rip out roads, which they would rip out whole communities and put them back in the wilderness.
We're heading for a Orwellian fascist global state. It's unfolding as I speak. That choice, that fork in the road, is to become conscious, because most of humanity isn't, because it's manipulated not to be, or the control systems route, which is just to become a clone, a computer terminal of a control system, a merciless control system. The choice is between this, not too far down the road if we allow it, and this. You start at A, you know you're going to Z, but you know if you go in a big leap, the change is going to be so big and so quick that people are going to go, what's happening, what's happening? Turn that television show off, what's happening? And we can break out of this. We can break out of this maze, this vibrational prison that we've been encased in. Stop being in the herd. Stop being in the box, because there is another way. And if we don't take another way, I'm not saying the other way, we live in all possibility, but if we don't take another way from the way we've taken this far, how can anything change? It can't. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Real simple. You don't have to be a faceless person in a faceless crowd. It's not compulsory. You can express your uniqueness. You don't have to do what everybody else does just because they do it and we're frightened of conforming. And sometimes the choice of not conforming can actually save us a lot of grief, and it will in the next few years. You don't have to swim with the tide. You can swim the other way. It's possible. You were born an original. Don't die a copy. But how many people do? Because they fear not being like everyone else is because of the comeback from those people. Even if you're in a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. The multitude is always wrong. My goodness, how history has confirmed that. And this is the stadium on which it all plays out, the human mind. You cannot control billions of people physically. You can in certain small areas, yes, with your tanks and your bloody tasers and all that rubbish, but you can't do it to 7 billion. You have to control the way they perceive themselves and the world, and therefore through that make them behave the way you want them to. So if we're going to go down this route of freedom, first of all, we need to free our minds from the programming of a lifetime. Free our minds from the belief that what we're programmed to believe in schools is the truth about anything. It's not there to enlighten us, it's there to program us with a certain perception of reality which we carry through our lives, so we will be good little slaves based on who we think we are and what we think the world is. Free our minds from the diversions and the nonsense and, hey honey, she's after the car, quick. And while we're doing that, over here, the world is being orchestrated. Not for our benefit either. Free our minds from the belief that the mainstream media is interested in telling the people the truth of what's going on in the world. It's there to do the opposite. It's to tell us the version of reality the control system wants us to believe, so we will respond and react in the right way. Free our minds from the fake change people. I mean, crikey, is there a politician that's actually campaigning anymore that's not saying they stand for change? Change? Yes, I'll tell you what the change is. It's one guy claiming to be change controlled by the same force that controlled the previous guy. Free our minds from the fake, fraudulent, false flag terrorist events created by the same control system that then tells you how the world must change to save us from the terrorism that they had covertly created. Free our minds from the front men for this control system who are put up to frighten us into accepting changes in society, surveillance and control to save us from people who are front men for the very system that says, let me save you from him. Free our minds from the bullshit nonsense about human-caused global warming, which is nothing more than a way of introducing and justifying more and more controls and massive, massive increases in taxation, making fortunes for people like him. Free our minds from the idea that Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, is in any way interested in human health. It's not about human health, it's about Big Pharma wealth and more. Free our minds from the four-letter word that controls the world, fear, that traps us in these vibrational boxes called fear. And free our minds, more than anything else, from the idea that we are Charlie Jones or Ethel Smith. We're just Joe Public. We've got no power. The choice is to become conscious, to realize that Ethel Smith is an experience, not who we are, and choose not to be what the control system is fast trying to create. Since I started writing about this in some detail 15, 16, 17 years ago about the control system, it's gone from its coming to daily experience. I think this is a symbolic picture myself. That plaque says, George Orwell lived here. Microchip agenda's moving on. The sky's full of chemtrails and all the stuff that's in them, destabilizing our ability to think straight. And they're targeting the children more than anyone because they're the ones who are supposed to live most of their lives in this control system. They bloody won't, as I'll get to later, but they're trying. And yet so many people are still saying, well, it looks all right to me. Looks all right to me. To have your head in the sand, you have to be on your knees. The two go together. And this is a real important area that keeps us from focusing on this and acting on this. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking that says, well, I don't want it to be true, so I'm going to kid myself it's not. And if I can do that, then I don't have to do anything. Here's an example of wishful thinking I came across. Wishful thinking that this threat will make any difference to their husband's drinking. That's wishful thinking. When I first saw that, I immediately ordered a large one, personally. But that's wishful thinking. I wish it were different. I wish things were different. Well, we all do, but they're not. They are as they are, and I find myself saying this all the time now. It is what it is. And if you accept what it is, you can change what it is. If you're in denial of it, you're not going to change it because you're kidding yourself it doesn't exist. This control system is coming in. It's coming in fast at the moment. And we have to get it from talking about it to doing something about it. And it's crept up on us, step by step, while we're watching the game shows and celebrity world and sport and stuff. Nothing wrong with any of those things. But if you're there and you've not got the peripheral vision, they will keep you from seeing what's going on. And now the future is here. It's not sometime never. The future is here. And we've got to go from that to that pretty damn quick. And we can and we will. In many, many ways. As Martin Luther King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And we are at a time of challenge and controversy, and we'll see what we're bloody made of, frankly. This is a time of fantastic awakening. Like I say, when I started on this journey consciously, anyway, 20 years ago, the number of people that were in any way interested in this information, whether it's the nature of reality or the control system and its agenda, was tiny, tiny, tiny. It was a lonely road.
Let me say this. They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you.
Fine. Not anymore. What comes with that awakening? Indeed, what triggers it in so many ways is when we decide to ask the big questions. Because only then can we get the big answers. Same background, same basic perception of the world and politics, and that's exactly the same with science, education, and media. They all stand on this same postage stamp, and anyone wants to step off it and explore in other areas, stop him! Stop him! Ridicule, condemnation, stop his funding. And people say, well, if what you're saying is true, science would tell us. Yeah, okay. Like the media would tell us, right? Yeah, okay. And that's the control system's bottom line, manipulating our imagination of self. You can trick the brain into seeing things that aren't there. These are pictures of paintings, etc., on the flat surface, the flat road, the flat pavement. And yet you can trick the brain into reading them as three-dimensional. That's on a flat pavement. So's that. Is that a woman's face, or is it a flower and a butterfly? Very easy to trick the brain to decode reality in a certain way. For instance, is this a man and a hand, or is it a Mexican, a woman, a bush, and a dog? Depends how you decode it. And the control system, en masse, is manipulating 24/7 the way that we decode reality, so we decode it in line with what suits the control system. As Einstein said, reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. And the reason it's persistent is because we live in a virtual reality universe. And so as we decode vibrational information through to electrical information, which is sent to the brain, and the brain decodes that into the world that we think we are experiencing. This is the metaphysical universe. Through the body computer, it becomes the world that we experience as outside of us. The five senses, which of course, as I say, virtual reality computer games lock into, that's how they work, they change vibrational information into electrical information, which goes to the brain to be decoded into what is holographic information. I'll come to that. So this is absolutely right, this scene from The Matrix, where the Neo character says, this isn't real, and Morpheus says, what is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, taste, and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. That's all it is. And imagine if you can manipulate the way the brain interprets reality, because you know how reality works and the population doesn't, because you bloody well keep it from them systematically. The five senses are a decoding system. The most obvious one, of course, is sound. That's a vibration, comes to the ear, message to the brain, brain hears the sound. There is no sound until we've decoded it as so. Sound is just a vibration until we've decoded it. Sound exists in here. Same with taste. Electrical signals to the brain decodes it. This is how you can, through stage hypnotists, etc., get someone to eat a potato but taste an apple. Because you implant the belief here that it's an apple, and so the electrical signal with the potato code goes there, and it doesn't read it like that, it reads it as an apple. Even on that basic level, think of the potential for manipulating the way we see reality individually and collectively. And different parts of the brain, like with smell, are specifically there in the body computer to decode those senses. Same with touch. Exactly the same. Even movement. There is no movement until we've decoded that movement.